Interesting news developing in the rail space where there were reports over the weekend that Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern are going to actually announce a merger this week, which would have
hmm
been completely unthinkable. And your signal definitely sniffed that out. So we'll just put that right at the top. Um,
It got
I know that's
CSX
where you're
too.
going.
It was like the CSX, NSC. Yeah, it's like they're all. I'm like, really? Okay, must be Global Quad too. But again, this is a glaring example. Steiner just highlighted, which I cringed a little bit, admittedly and personally, because I own and trade SBET and the PA for the same reason. Price volume volatility, the fractal pattern knew that the BlackRock dude was going to leave. Like I didn't know that, but now I know that. It's like, okay, thanks. So here we go. Like, I mean, this is there any probability? Like, what probability is there that you wake up to NSC being down 10 or 20% because it's not happening?
That's a great question. I think that NSC, UMP, like in the near term, are very likely to pursue this.
Yeah.
The reality is that I mean, like just the framing, like this would have been unthinkable for the last few decades. The rail industry is already consolidated. Uh, KSU and CP was always an exception in the regulatory framework because I mean, KSU is along because it was able to be acquired because it was a much smaller, still growthy network. And the rails are in their own STB, formerly ICC, regulatory framework uh, because Railway Labor Act, they have their own framework because they're a natural monopoly in that sort of classic economics class sense of it. But the reality is that these two networks, NSC UMP and also Berkshire CSX, they don't overlap that much. NSC and CSX are the eastern rails, and Berkshire Berkshire owns Burlington Northern, and UNP are the western rails. And this sort of deregulation from the current administration, and also the rails have a very powerful lobby, which they flex regularly. So basically, regardless of whether or not you think the rails should merge more or less, there isn't a tremendously obvious reason for them not to in terms of direct overlap of freight. And I think that, the potential of them actually trying to pursue it is really high. The potential of them getting through the STB and getting it done is, from a regulatory perspective, lower. But I think they have a good argument to make, right? Like, even when they're sort of picking up freight and scheduling things, there can be delays or extra work or extra processes associated with that. So they're going to have a decent argument for regulators to make that case that it will actually lower the cost of freight going from Chicago or from California to Pennsylvania or whatever you want to use as an example, because it's true. That's almost certainly the case. Whether or not it will give them pricing is probably going to be a different question, but it will certainly force, if UMP and NSC merge, it will force Burlington and CSX to also pursue a merger, which then, if the regulators approve the former, they'll probably approve the latter. So this is a significant structural change. I think that the probability, given the argument that they'll be able to make, especially following CPKSU, is pretty good. So there's a good reasons you point out in this quad to be long rails anyway. And they're certainly not, from evaluation, this is not like a weird spot to be long rails. And if they get these done, it's a significant structural improvement to the industry that will make them more profitable. So, it is a compelling argument and sort of a out of left field development. If you had asked me a year ago, this was really not something that was on anybody's radar. And I think it's a credit to these, basically taking advantage of a change in the regulatory environment to pursue it in a way that in the long run is probably negative or whatever for shippers, but in the short run could certainly be a positive for rail margins, pricing, all that kind of stuff. So we'll continue to watch that.
Thanks for watching Hedgeye on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to click on the button below there. Subscribe to our YouTube page. You can also follow the link in the description to our website to get even more great investing content.